Since last time I've seen, we have sent, thank you so much. We have sent to the legislature our SCG plan, which is our capital city revitalization area plan. We're waiting for the commission to either accept or deny that plan. Just some of this information that I've heard from community members, not anyone in particular, but rather to let you all know we have not voted on the tax yet, and we still have not voted on the plan. What we did was submit a plan to the state commission so that they can improve the plan or accept it. And my understanding is they made in their head. I've heard that there might be some edits to it coming our way. Legally, again, just to remind you, this is a precedent set by SB 272. So it was a state bill that was run in the 2024 legislative session this year. And it sets a deadline for September 1st for us to pass this area plan that sets us in motion. The tax doesn't have to be voted on by September 1st. So any questions on that? That's a big chunk of conversation we've had over the last 2 months. But in short, the negotiations in the final hour was so interesting. I want to share with you all. I decided I would dissent. The lobbyists found out and freaked out, so we stayed up till 1 a.m. talking about transit needs, construction mitigation, and then the need for a legal development agreement. That means making sure that every phasing of this project, not just phase 1 and 2, but the phases of this project and implementation legally bind Salt Lake City Corporation and SCG so that they don't make movement without it. That makes sure we follow a zoning process. They're coming to us next week requesting an upzone on their project that would make it from District 4 zoning to CD1 zoning, which is Central District 1 zoning, which gives them the ability to ask for a leak height. I know there's lots of different views on this. I shared with you all and hope to continue to vote in favor of urbanization. When we have the ability to grant height in the urban core, it means restricting it in our single family zone neighborhoods, which is a rare commodity these days. So it's essential and vital to build out our urban core. It's also our tax revenue. But I want to give you the opportunity. I respect those that may not have done that, and that's okay. I'm looking in the best interest for creating that sales tax revenue and to make sure that we're not just following precedent of the state law, but that we're building back our urban core. Go ahead.
I need protection from the city council against these developers. I fortunately paid $18 for a notice of interest. Okay, and they said, "Oh, we're going to take care of you, don't worry." And they tried to sell it, and they showed up with their paper in hand, begging me to sign the release. Now I've seen the corrupt courts around here build shit on easements. 569 Denver Street, right?
Yeah, I know Denver.
So what I want is the city council to mandate that we have a notice of interest on every project so that the individuals in this town don't get run over.
Yeah, so
I said that to every council member for years now.
That's a great way. So we're looking at part of the construction mitigation policies.
Right.
The notice is a stake in the ground. And if you're lucky, your community council gets notification depending on the parcel or the upzone.
Is it our city or not?
Well, there's someone knocks it over to.
I'm sorry?
There's someone knocks it over, it's a stake in the ground, you can live with the stake in the ground.
It's a stake in the ground.
So if someone kicks it over, we use it to say, is it, to keep picking back up where he's gone, it's not there.
You have to replant it and so
So
we
they,
have to send it.
you guys are reporting every time, no one else will report or take accountability.
So that's, again, it's not that no one else will report it, it's that we do not have staff 24/7 around the city. That's why residents of the city since 1847 got reported it. So I think this is a great idea. This is a part of a policy bundle that I've been looking at. And I'd love to talk to you more. I didn't get your name.
Tom Green.
Thank you, Tom, because I'm aware of a gentleman on Denver Street. I'm blinking on his name, Rocky
That's right.
Manchego.
That's right. And
Mr.
if you had
Manchego.
notice of interest, they wouldn't have been able to sell the property.
Yeah.
And then they'd have had to resolve it.
Yeah.
And instead, once they sold it, now we've made a full plan for attorney's act.
Yeah.
So
So
good. It's too late.
Rocky is an example of predation that
Good
happened.
man that got run over.
He is, and he signed up his rights. And so we can't help him, but that's an example that we can prevent. So I appreciate you for bringing that up. It's definitely occurring more often than not. There's a bundle with construction mitigation outside that scope that's related to pedestrian access. But that is premeditated, so I don't wanna bring to you something that's not law yet. It's something that my team and I are working on diligently. Once this more construction breaks ground, it's gonna become very difficult to enforce. Do you have a question?
Yeah, so you might be touching on exactly my concern. It's my understanding that there are currently laws with regard to pedestrian access that are flagrantly violated in construction projects on county areas. funding or resource or other resources to enforce it. Is that accurate and is there
There's
anything
funding.
done about that?
There's certainly funding to enforce. So Tim is a colleague of mine that can help us in reporting these cases. We've responded to every report that I've seen. So if there isn't a report that you're aware of or we have not enforced, I'm happy to take that in or Tim himself can help. But as far as a project, for example, I mean, I give you prime examples of 200 South. You walk there is no easement, there's no right of way near the federal courthouse, the Frankie Moss courthouse, there's no easement. So I'm watching women and children and individuals that go downtown walk on the street next to vehicles, for
People
example.
in wheelchairs.
And so there are permits that allow that where there is no public right of way, but we can certainly check that permit and send an enforcement officer. I've heard of citations granted. I also know that we need further policies on this that have been brought to my attention specifically by downtown and Central City. So that's something that I'm pursuing. Now that we're out of quarter 2, quarter 3, and 4, these next 6 months are all about policies for state and legislative intent. So this is where I want you guys to really reach out and give me that time because that helps us achieve this on a specific timeline. So I'm tracking this all in a CRM that way we can actually deliver and not just speak word, mouth to mouth every time we're at this meeting, but come back with some deliverables to you guys. Just some, oh yeah.
Can you give a reminder on the back on the SEG, the development agreement with the county, where the timeline is and what the treatment tax?
There is no timeline on the county's development side, so Tim asked the question about SAG's timeline with their agreement with the county, and that would be their phase 2, that's where the parcel where Robinal Hall is and Umoka is. And right now, it's looking like they won't have an agreement until after next year's legislative session, which gives us, I mean, we would enter a development agreement for another 6 to 9 months is the next step on that. And then the truth and taxation periods, I don't have the date, we just barely get that update today. So as soon as I have that information, I'll I know time is up, I think, or
15 minutes for the other city people.
yeah. Just quickly, I wanted to go through the key changes on budget, so I was able to share with you all what budget changes happened specifically for Central City. There's other budget items that are shared around the city, but just as an example, the RIT team was expanded. The RIT team is a region team, and that allows us to do hygienic cleanups and to mask them in the downtown. We set aside $500,000 for you to come up with public restroom access. So waiting for that implementation.
What does access require? What is it like?
I don't have the implementation. We always see the budgetary funding. You have to talk to the admin, and I believe they're coming back with a plan. But that's something that they've been researching.
So there's like,
Where we're working on that.
like something more better than what
So I
We're-
think
we're-
we
we're-
might be able
I
to.
have no idea.
We're all working on
And
it.
then we have,
Parks working on it. Mayor's office, parks working on it.
and so a detox facility is available. Please report. I don't want to take up more time. I do want to talk to you more individually, so please look out for the next meeting with Ava. Just to let you know, it does split between lunchtime and dinner time every other month because I want to give as much ability for individuals that have that break to come and talk to me one-on-one. You can reach out anytime, call or text, and please, please, please download SLC Mobile. I had an update, some people told me it wasn't working. It is working, and we tested it. Please use it. It's the best way we can encapsulate our data and have a repository to make informed decisions for the cities. Thank you so much. I'll be here for the next 40 minutes before I have to leave. So. Oh, I have free bags if you want some, by the way. Just some goodies. So that's why I wore my little RDA robes.
Tim, so you know we've got 12 minutes for the rest of
Thanks,
this.
everyone. I won't be long. I appreciate Ava covering all the items that she addressed. I appreciate all of you who came out to the announcement for the Olympics. That was exciting, particular for me, because I was able to share it with my mom, who may not be here when the Olympics is. It was kind of nice to share it with her, my brother, my sister, so my whole family came out. I just wanted to share that with you. I sent that email out, so hopefully you got that. And we're able to join and participate. Those are some of the fun things in life. We do work all the time, but it's important to enjoy and live life as well. I did want to touch two issues. We got that paving completed on Second South from State to Second East. This is the latest update. You're able to check that out. Dominion Energy still down on Third West. Once they finish that, by this fall, the city will finish paving the rest of Second South. I just have about 10 copies here, so share. Also, with this extreme, we're all worried about the trees and ensure that a lot of the community councils had created what they call an urban forest subcommittee. I know East Central has one, Sugar House has one. They actually went around and counted all the trees in their community councils. They have a urban forester within urban forestry who will work with you and identify any trees that are in poor health. Planting of the trees isn't until spring or fall typically, but if you see a tree in distress, make sure you get like a 5-gallon bucket of water out to it a couple times a week. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Any questions for me? There's been a lot going on in the city. Happy to answer any questions.
How long is the library wanting to be closed off, and when will it be open, and then what will be done to keep it from being lingered on all day and have all the garbage out there?
So the agreement was, once they get that grass reestablished, that they'll take that fencing down. That they needed time to repair sprinklers and access to water to irrigate the area. But I'll check on that.
Yeah, because I mean, like people sitting all day long and all the garbage and the heat, and I mean, the sprinklers, are they on a schedule like they do to just divide them throughout the day?
Yeah, they're on a schedule. Sprinklers are on a schedule. We did a lot of them that get damaged or destroyed because people don't want to get wet while they're laying.
Yeah. But the security is still going around and everything, and
Yeah, I'll check on the date. Sure, that
all
will.
Tim, just real quick, I know we don't have a lot of time. Artesian Well has seen a huge uptick in homelessness and people camping. Is there,
it's got worse last week.
Yeah, it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge in all of our public parks. Parks are public, they're for everyone.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you're homeless or not. Especially our persons experiencing homelessness, they're going to the parks to get out of the heat because they have the trees, the shade, speaking of trees. We kind of have a process right now where we're going through the parks, making sure no one's sleeping in the park. But during the daytime, it's a little, they're free to use the parks. We kind of go around in shifts where we just cleared out Liberty Park. They were on the schedule with our rapid intervention team, rapid response team for a month before the 24th, and they kind of hit that time frame where they then moved over to Artesian Well Park to Park. Now they're all over Jefferson Park and Richmond Park. So we get a chance to go through there just because we can't cover the entire city at one time. So it kind of moves from place to place to place to place. Until we get some more support from the state, putting up a temporary shelter community, and understanding the trend, find closer to being a more secure or long-term state piece of property. But the temporary shelter community, and maybe Hurricane can address this for the update on this south and 7th West.
I have a security camera account for Park right now it's mild, I have it on 24/7. The kids they started to come and play a lot, now they're coming less and less because of all the people out there doing what they do all day long, and the HRC's club is usually, they're great. But I'm sitting here watching the camera, and they're out there like finding drug paraphernalia, needles, everything, every day, all the time. In the berry tree, outside the berry tree, last night I went late at night, the camera, and I finally went to bed. Everywhere, it's it's a good day when I don't find drug paraphernalia near the playground, but it's all around everywhere. I don't know what else to do, I'm just like.
Yeah, I really respect and appreciate all the time, attention, and energy you pour into that. I think that's the best way is to activate the space. The more you activate the space and
The more I activate it, the more they're being agitated. I mean, I'm trying to balance between keeping myself safe also, and also, you know, doing what I need to do, and I don't see anyone else there.
don't ever put yourself in harm's way.
Like-
Yeah.
But, you know,
That doesn't benefit anyone. You don't want to,
but it has to be done.
If I may.
you don't want to cause harm to yourself or
I'm
to.
not gonna
The state's sanctioned camp, their permanent sanctioned camp, it opens at the end of September, the last notification I received last Thursday from the meter hazard. So that's really critical, it's gonna bring bed capacity quickly to us. When I'm investigating with the need of a daytime shelter, I would ask each of you, which, you know, Rihanna, Austin, Brandy, you've been gracious enough to kind of work with me on this, but it is helpful, in fact, to me and to my colleagues, if you can share these updates with us. It's not because it over inundates or oversaturates us, but it calls attention to the need of shelter capacity at the daytime and at nighttime. That helps transform the state's conversation. So right now, I can tell you the state, I was on a call today, they're threatening to pull funding from Salt Lake City. It's not a lack of enforcement, we are citing actually. I went to Pioneer Park this weekend, I spent 3 hours in the sun, with probably 120 individuals that run shelter, talking, trying to understand, feeding them quite frankly, because it was humane still. And, you know, quite frankly, that's what we need to leverage and put more affinity towards this issue. It helps me as a council member to help identify as far as their storage needs, their hygienic needs. There's a, you know, a menagerie of issues around homelessness that we can tackle. In particular, I'm curious to see what securing capital assets like the well that everyone uses, because it needs to be hygienic, because
Yeah,
it's
there's
hygienic
people
and water. So if you agree with me, you don't have to, but if you do, it helps me a lot to press on that issue, and I would appreciate if you guys write in.
I tell everyone, of course.
Emails.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I know, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to overdo it, but I tell everyone documentation is important to the neighbors, not just to
Really
me, but
helps,
to them too as well. So, I mean, people are looking outside people's houses.
Let's
all
move
the
to the
time.
next city update.
Thanks, Tim.
So just to, if you guys have Ava's email, like she said, email her when you see these things so she can collect it and advocate for
Yeah.
better
The
services.
best thing to do would be, if we can collect it, so it's like one packet of 1,000 units. I mean, that's so helpful right now in preparation for the legislative year next year. Super helpful. I don't.
I'll make it quicker. We have a resource for Friday. If it makes you feel any better, that dog gets tested all the time. It's safe. It was tested within the last.
Why don't we take all the animals and stuff? and
Yeah, yeah.
wash people's hands?
I was just looking at it. The micro shelters that were shut down are reopening. Hopefully at the end of September, there'll be 50 people that were there relocated temporarily. The state is looking for land for a larger place that is still up in the air in the timeline. That's unknown. I still see mobile is shutting down soon completely and moving to a different app. If you use it, and you have an account, you should all receive an email. We don't know the exact time of that. It's supposed to be sometime in the fall, but keep an eye out.
What are the signs we have to show some of their problems said that will be up, it says no baby well, like the person who, he says they're almost ready, but he's told me that.
I'm not sure.
For the app, is the city exporting that information to use that data?
I would assume so.
I can answer that more because I spoke to our innovation team. They're updating it just because that was an like we built my SLC, so it's going to the platform we all use, which is Salesforce. So common CRM, right? Very highly utilized. So yeah, it's transferring all that data repository.
So just a new
Yeah,
data.
I have.
It's easier to use, it's like more supplies that way. See?
It's all, yeah, I don't know.
The more you use it.
I've been
trust
hoping,
me,
yeah, it should,
the better
it's more,
it is.
it's more customizable, I know.
That's good.
And I know, yeah, so competition kind of people are just like I said, I switch over, just control that for option.
These are days more, so I think I'd rather take it with more.
Yeah. So. Any questions?
Let's go to Ron.
And we can go to 6:35. So give you like 5-6 minutes. Are you gonna share your screen or, okay. So I'll just make yours the big one. Oh, do I have to give you permission?
Yeah, I just gotta get
Here we go. Hold on, sorry. Oh my gosh, okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, you should be able to now.
Thanks so much.
Hey guys, if you aren't aware, Ronnie is doing the redesign of Hopper, Richmond, and Liberty Parks.
Okay, so my name is Ryan Cassetto, for those who don't know. I am a public lands planner and project manager over Hopper, Richmond, and Liberty Play Park, and a whole bunch of others throughout the city, but those are the main ones that are related to your community. As an update for Hopper and Richmond, I'm releasing the design process next month. So there'll be a whole process in terms of informing you all when that process is, so you all can select what design you prefer. And I'm also here to update you on Liberty Rotary Play Park and the final design. So as a quick background, the project started in the spring of 2023, where I was able to collect some general feedback. In May of 2024, the engagement concepts were released, where you all were able to select the 3. And then in addition to that, you all were able to select what amenities you all prefer. So I was able to collect that information, and for the final design, I was able to select your topmost ones that you really, really wanted and advocated for the most. These are the overall guiding principles. You all can view all of this information on the project website. Every project with the general obligation bond has its own website, and it's always updated. I always update it all the time. We identified, one of the big comments that I received from that May engagement was that you all wanted to know how accessible this playground is. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to see the ins and outs of it when it's just an overall idea concept. So I did. So these are all of the elements that I actually considered when designing this concept. So I not only considered people with physical abilities, also include people who are hard of hearing, hard of seeing, people that are colorblind, people who are neurodivergent into this design.
Is there any way to expand that or make it bigger?
Yes, you can just put this on.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Yeah, and so each of these actual components details it up here in terms of the elements and how accessible it is in each part of it. I'm not going to necessarily go over each of the features and areas for the sake of time. I would highly recommend you kind of taking a look at it. We revealed this concept design at the Inclusion Festival, which is kind of ironic, right? Because of its legacy. And then the following day, we actually, the National Ability Center in Park City, and was able to get some of their feedback. And so that was super insightful. So with that being said, for construction starting in 2025, Concord Park will be starting in 2025. Out of respect for you guys, I'm not shutting down all the parks and doing construction at the same time. We're open until it's finished, okay? So with that being said, that's all I got for you.
How long will top, or any of the parks, is different for each park, when it starts?
Yeah, typically it's usually about a year.
Totally close, like 100% with secure fences or fences that can be compromised.
Yeah, it'll happen just around the area, just
Just the
because
regulation.
it's a construction zone, so no one's allowed in there. So for instance, the playground, I'm trying to create an alternative system where people know exactly where they can report to for kids to play. Because I know it's a big deal that it won't be there for a year. In addition to that, I'm coordinating with the park managers as well, to be a help in terms of having programming throughout that year, for kids that utilize the play park.
So it'll be more secure fence than the playground.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be there all day though.
Oh, well, they're just,
Yeah, so.
okay.
So it sounds like
They're all-
Liberty Park is like a year process. What about these smaller ones like Richmond?
Or is that the year?
Yeah, they're about a year.
They're all like a year.
Because you're incorporating a whole bunch of elements into it.
So not, Liberty Park isn't closed entirely, or partially in section isn't closed entirely.
The playground?
No, oh, I think the whole park is closed together too,
No,
not just half.
just the playground, just the playground. The rest of the park will be open.
So Richmond is 2026 then, or?
I would say 2026. I just don't want to like cause well to not have the parks to go through. Because I'm taking out Liberty, I'm taking out Concord, and that they got Richmond, you guys have a far distance to go to. So I'm expecting you guys.
Ronnie, what will happen to the plants that were contributed, I think, by Home Depot for buffer? The heucheras especially, prior to construction, I mean, those were a lovely gift and we should respect the gift and repurpose them, relocate them.
Yeah. We'll wind up keeping them. We'll move we'll probably wind up maybe altering the art piece, moving it to a different area for better activation and placemaking. But the overall will wind up keeping more.
They look like they're in good shape right now. I was there last night and they're watering regularly. People are stopping for them, like pulling them out. Like the first week they were there, I saw this guy looking stuff out, they're fast on. So they're, for the most part, in good shape. And that's where I find the least amount of garbage and drug paraphernalia. It's right where the plants are. It's everywhere else in Orange. But they're good.
And we'll attempt to address the shrine. I know that's been a big issue in that space, so. Okay.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, we'll move on to committee updates, and I can talk about land use stuff. Just one update that comes to mind is that Brianna and I went to the meeting for the Intermountain Health Hospital up in the avenues, and they were talking to us about the plans for the site. So this isn't in Central City, it's just across the street, as we all know, on State Street. They're still working with the city on the design and the rezone. And I don't have any major updates from that meeting, do you, Rihanna?
Well, there is, so it's going to the council on the 20.
So there will be a public hearing on the 27th. So fix that date in the package, but we're gonna confirm. I talked to Ava about that. But I'm like 99.9% sure the public hearing is on the 22nd or 27th, excuse me. And then from there, they'll schedule the vote. So just maybe September.
Cool. The other thing, Justin,
Did you all get a copy of the letter from Darren Nano about his decision not to support? So,
I didn't see that.
oh, I would love a copy of that letter. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
all
can you
right.
send it?
Yeah, it was forwarded to me, I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
interesting. Okay. And then the other thing with land use is in our newsletter, we are always including rezones that are going through, major sales that are happening in the neighborhood. So check that out in the newsletter. Nothing sticks out in my mind right now.
The city is hosting a walking tour for the zoning consolidation. And that's going to take place the 20th in front of Western Gardens at 6 o'clock.
It's listed online. It's-
August. Yeah, if you're not aware, the city's consolidating like 20 or 30 zones down into something like 8 zones.
They're proposing to.
Proposing to, yes, to simplify it. And then let's go on to transportation committee. Troy, if you have updates for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to go over what's on here. So we talked about the plans. So something that's not on this paper is street resurfacing. So some of their staff, I believe, is still getting resurfaced. I don't think they're changing anything. I just know that it'll happen at some point. We'll go through and resurface the street. Probably every week or two. But they should notify you if you live in the street. I heard about 700 east, so that would be from south to the third south. It sounds like they're not doing that this year, probably next year. I heard that a few weeks ago, but I haven't heard anything else.
Which street?
7th East, where the city owns it, from South Temple to Phoenix South. They're proposing to resurface and restripe it, but it sounds like it might be delayed next year. That's what I've heard from transportation people. So are there any questions about anything on the paper, any specific projects?
Is transportation, like light timing associated with transportation on your field, because I noticed the light right when my house improved, which I was trying before, I was setting south and fifties for long before, and it like the last few weeks it got better, and I was really excited. So are they the same, is that?
You said the light?
The light, you know, the change in time where you're just they're waiting anyway. I was gonna report it, but right before I did, it seemed like the light wait for time became improved.
Oh, the traffic signal, yeah,
Yes,
so
traffic signal,
they go through, and this is actually one of the least weird things to me, even though I asked about it, I did ask transportation about it. They've been updating a lot of the signals, so some of them have just changed. Some of them have implemented a leading pedestrian signal, which is where the light stays red. They still push the button, and then the walk sign turns on for a couple of seconds.
And that is great in theory. The problem is some right turners don't expect it, so they barely hit you.
Well,
Maybe that'll change in time, but at the moment, it's almost more dangerous than it was.
they do that anyway.
Well, it can be a little confusing when, because we have right turn on red, as long as the light is red, they're allowed to do that. Suddenly it turns, doesn't turn red anyway. Someone's able to go, and more time for me. And so.
And I didn't like, it was positive for me as a walker, like, I was like, I don't understand those long, because sometimes people just run those things no matter what, it's just like, they don't even care, it's like, okay, I'm wearing long, I'm going, you know, it's just like, holy crap, you know? But I found it positive this particular light, otherwise I don't know about, you know?
Yeah, and a lot of them, some of them used to be like, they always turned on for pedestrians, but now they don't. I'm not a fan because there's redundancy in transportation pairing. There's half the people don't push the button and they walk through it anyway. Which they're actually legally allowed to do that.
And if you reported to, is that the light, if I would have done it, like.
Yeah, you can send it to SLC Mobile. I think there's a traffic signals option. I don't know if it'll change, if the categories will change when they update it. But there is like a signals category you can report it.
Thank you.
Where are we with the bird sounds? Well, when you walk east-west, there's the cuckoo, and north-south is the chirp. Are we doing any of that anymore? Is that part of our transportation system?
Did you say bird sound? Bird sound?
Yes.
Oh, I don't think we can remove those.
There were a lot of them when I first went
They're gone.
there. It seems like they're less and less, and as they redo the equipment, it's losing it.
Bird crickets.
Well, they do for sunrise, from east and west.
Oh.
So when they hear the cuckoo, they know they can walk east and west. And when they hear the chirp, they know they can go north and south. And I just wondered, has anyone brought that to?
I guess any other things would just be like construction updates. If there are any like construction projects where they just randomly close a sidewalk and there's no sign or anything and you just send out to the street, take a picture, send it to SLC Nobles Construction. So I've gotten someone to respond to me before, you tell me email him and then get a response, but that's my experience. They do at least look at them. And they may send someone out, again, SLC Mobile, very unclear whether they respond, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Really
Depends
depends
on tell you.
Really depends on what you're reporting, like abandoned shopping carts, they're in a flash, whereas broken crossing signals. Months.
We had some confusion with who's doing the construction, whether it's private construction, city construction, community entities doing construction. you guys doing construction on State Street, speaking of signal lights, because they're in the process of changing those. But usually when you get that request to us, we can direct it to the appropriate entity that's on that construction.
They will obviously jump on it.
We try.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're reporting, you got like, so State Street, 700 East, there's other ones, they have their app for you to report, and you fix it, so it's, you wanna go to 2 different apps.
Yeah.
They're not great.
And they're on a different time frame than we are. So.
And the thing with, if any of the apps tell you that someone may submit something and like you duplicate, ignore it and submit it.
That's what I do.
Yeah, that's what I heard other people tell me, so I always just ignore it, because usually it's not. If it's the same thing, you want to know that there's 2 reports.
Right.
We can work.
Question everything.
Yeah.
As, it seems like since they've said they were gonna replace the app, every single request just gets closed immediately, and they say, yeah, we'll do it. So you never get any more.
I get lots of follow-up notes and things with my all the time as far as very detailed responses and everything.
Some are automated, some are not. That's variable. Parking enforcement.
Also, my understanding is livable streets will be here next month, so that's a good question to ask.
I do this zones meeting too. If they reduce them from where we live on 7 South and East, how's that affect me? Yeah.
It's just a mixed use. If you go somewhere else, like where you live, probably not.
Yeah, the area around you is relatively built out, so the redevelopment potential is low. But if someone lives next to a large parking lot, single story retail, industrial, it's
So they put in the new diagonal sidewalk parking around me a little bit, right? And so I was talking to the guy in compliance, I said, apparently you can on the internet buy a parking meter that has the solar credit card turn. I go, can I put up a half a dozen parking spots here? And he said, no, because we're in the wrong zone. I thought, well, what does that mean? He says, we're kind of residential, but are we?
We're gonna go on to the next committee, so Rhiannon has an update as soon as the next.
Yeah, so we're gonna have our Pizza in the Park event on October 11th, and everybody is welcome to come join us and have some really great, what is it? Pizza.
Is it the same place,
And it'll be at Richmond Park, and we are trying to raise $1,000. So if anybody would like to contribute $1, $5, $10, $50.
Well, that's what I do.
You can scan this and make a donation, we would really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're saying each pizza's like $10, so you donate $10, that covers the pizza
Covers
for
your
someone.
pizza.
You know, if you can donate $50, that's amazing.
5 pizzas. And then we will need volunteers to help us set up. And the city has a new requirement this year to have an accessibility coordinator on site. So if anybody has experience with making or helping to make events more accessible, please talk to me. Yeah. And that's all.
Can you ask that QR code?
Yeah, and the QR code is in the community board, which is in Taffer Park. You can scan it if you go there. It's always nice. And on our link tree.
Well, unless I'm missing any committees, I think we talked a lot about public safety already, so we can skip to Rio Grande plans. We've got Nathan here, he's going to talk to us about a citizen-led proposal to move the rail just west of downtown.
So is it all right if I take over screen sharing here?
Yep, let me give you permission.
Sweet. And if, I'm assuming I hook up to the display through that USB-C.
Yeah, just share.
Or I
your
guess I
screen.
share it and it'll
Yeah,
come
just
up share your here.
screen, that'll be-
Oh, perfect. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm gonna set my laptop down here. For some reason it's not. There we go. My name is Nathan. I'm here to present the Rio Grande plan to you guys. We're a citizen-led group trying to convince Salt Lake City and our other stakeholders to invest in our city in a meaningful way for the future and especially for the Olympics. So here, our goals today are to present what the Rio Grande plan is, define benefits, and we're going to answer questions if we can. I'll try to be prompt enough to have a little bit of time for that, or we can wait till after those are your preferences. So the Rio Grande Depot, which I'm sure you're all very aware of, is one of our most beautiful historic buildings in downtown, was built 114 years ago. It actually, its birthday is this month. It's owned by the state of Utah. Presently, it is unoccupied. It was damaged pretty badly in the earthquake in 2020. They're seismically isolating the foundation, reinforcing the walls and the roof. And once they're done with that, it doesn't have an identified use. It used to house the state archives and the State Historic Society, but as of now, those entities are moving to other state facilities, eventually up to the new museum on at the state capitol complex. So we see this as amazing potential for Salt Lake City. So central stations around the United States, you know, cities take pride in their train stations, at least most of them used to, many of them do now. This is one of our beautiful stations. I neglect to remember exactly which one this is. Thank you. Way ahead of you there. Here's Grand Central, Washington, D.C.'s Union Station, Denver's Union Station, Chicago, Cincinnati. All of these cities have taken great pride in their historic stations. I mean, they're beautiful buildings, since the railroad station used to be the main gateway into the city. This is Salt Lake City's. As of right now, we have a central station that does not have restrooms, does not have drinking water, has very little shelter. Oh, thank you. So this station was opened in 1999. At the time, Salt Lake City was seeing 2 trains a day in the middle of the night, one serving eastbound and the other serving westbound to Chicago and Bay Area. That train still runs, but now we have Front Runner. We have the Trax Blue Line serving the station, and we have UTA's bus service, which served it from its inception. I should add, before this station was the primary station, Trax still served the Rio Grande Depot, where the trains did stop up until 1999, prior to the Olympics, when those tracks were removed. Here's a little more about it. Amtrak resides in a temporary permanent triple wide trailer that is only open in the late hours of the night serving passengers. UTA, if you want relief from the sun, you've got bus shelters. That's about it.
There's our Greyhound. Where's our Greyhound go?
Oh, the Greyhound? So the Greyhound's a fun one. They were in the building there, I forget, the intermodal hub building. That building is since closed, and
Is there something wrong with the building or just?
No. So Greyhounds ended their lease and have decided to just do curbside pickup because it's cheaper. So UTA intends to tear down that building and replace it with their new headquarters. So here are our current conditions. As of right now, of course, there are no West Side High Schools. Students must cross the tracks one way or another on a bridge or at a crossing. I apologize, our video is a little choppy. But people who work and live on the west side or commute from it must deal with this every single day. It's agonizing. We have things like these pedestrian bridges. These are great they're great band-aids. It's better that we have it than we don't. But I still see pedestrians walk underneath trains than just take the inconvenience of going up the stairs. So as of right now, there's no solution to this proposed other than the Rio Grande plan. What is the Rio Grande plan? We are proposing relocating the tracks from this purple, pinkish, I'm a little colorblind, corridor here into a below grade structure on 5th West. This would move the central station to the Rio Grande Depot from the present central station here. And it would grade separate 8 total railroad crossings, would reopen 3 streets that are currently closed by tracks. And it would allow the elimination of 2 viaducts, 4th South and North Temple, turned into surface streets, and it would allow the 5th and 6th South freeway ramps to be shortened.
So essentially, everything will be going back to that old hub, like it did
Yeah.
back then.
So yeah, so here's a map of these crossings and viaducts. So here's North Temple up here. This is 4th South, 5th South, 6th South, and here's crossings that would be eliminated. These crossings would go from being railroad crossings to open city streets.
That is 900 south on the southernmost one, is that correct?
Yes, that is 900 South.
So is this part of that new federal money for infrastructure?
We hope.
That's a question for later on.
Okay, that's a beautiful idea. Yeah, who's against this? Is anyone against this?
Not really. I mean,
That's a good idea.
there's always some people in the KSL comment section. I have yet to really beat any.
There's broad bipartisan support, the only con we've heard so far is the one, but everyone thinks everyone is.
Yes.
I just want to bring up like that, I know the area that we live in, at least 3 of us.
Yeah.
If that merge zone happens, we will end up not having a car, because we're not really parking requirement, it's gonna be traumatic. And one thing I think about is, how do all the city riders get up to go skiing and things like that? So I would be super supportive of a plan like this, especially if it also included train linkages to places that we will no longer be able to get to if you're not able to have cars.
I have a slide for that a little later. I'll show you.
Okay.
So yeah, as I just briefly went over, we'd be proposing moving the tracks below grade along 5th West. So 5th West is a road that still exists. It would be a little narrower, a little more pedestrianized, but it would still exist. Grade separate these 8 crossings and open up 75 acres of land to develop. This land is presently locked up in a rail yard that is mostly disused, and the existing central station.
Is that like where people for garbage and camp and just have wasted space that gets?
They move the traffic. They don't use it anymore.
Okay.
First, they moved down to the Roper Yard, and then they moved up to Ogden, and now they don't really switch cars, they run trains.
A brief history of it is that we used to have more than one major freight railroad running through town, which necessitated more than one yard. And now they more or less all consolidated into Union Pacific.
Yeah.
And so Union Pacific has 3 notable yards in Utah, one down here, the Roper Yard, which is their main yard. This yard, which they more or less don't use, and the yard north, which is used for storage.
It used to be the old Atlanta port.
Yep. Well, so here's what a basic artist's rendition of it. This is not a binding concept here, but rather this is an idea of what could be done with all of this land. This is a new city district. 75 acres in Salt Lake City doesn't regularly present itself, especially this close to downtown. Here's a similar concept. This is a video I took about a month ago in Reno. Reno did a similar project, grade separating their tracks, eliminating several crossings. As you can see, this train's going by, a bus goes over it, completely unobstructed. Pedestrians, cars, most people didn't know that train was going through downtown. This is a basic little cross-section of the station that could be built with UTA tracks, Amtrak, and Union Pacific. The exact layout would still be up in the air pending a little more engineering analysis, but more or less we'd have a much more functional station for several different types of passengers. So here's once the picture loads here, this is our basic rendition above our bird's eye view of the project area. Now, we have a lot of projects coming through in Utah right now. UTA is planning to double front runner frequency, which I should add will make the crossing situation quite a bit worse. We've got UTA's Technique study bringing more track service. We've got the Main Street Promenade, which is a little misspelled there, apologies for that. That's an amazing project I'm really looking forward to. Temple Square is presently being reconstructed, and we're going to see some interesting new pedestrian aspects there. We have the Smith Entertainment Group's Entertainment District, very hot topic lately. We have Greenwood, proposed by Salt Lake City. We have the Larry H. Miller Company's Entertainment District going in what is presently the Gadsby Power Plant in the Pacific Coast headquarters. 2034 Winter Olympics have been brought back to Salt Lake City. And right in the middle of it is the Rio Grande plan. The one common thread, all of these projects are disconnected by the east-west divide, by the trains running down the middle. As the frequency of trains increases and as our population densifies in downtown, especially in these new districts around the Rio Grande, this problem is going to become far more prevalent, far more impactful to people who live and work in Salt Lake City. This project, though, isn't just about a better train station and better transit. It also has a very defined economic payoff. 75 acres of new land downtown has a potential to bring tax value of certain parcels up to around $2 billion. That's a massive increase in value. Opportunities for a lot of federal support for this project. So right now there's around $2 trillion in federal infrastructure money floating around. Salt Lake City is currently participating in a federal grant funded study, the Reconnecting Communities, which is studying the Rio Grande plan among other possible projects to ease the east-west divide. And that is a direct avenue to significant infrastructure funding from the federal government. The city is trying to be more mixed-use, transit-oriented, and have more green space. This project just absolutely brings in so much potential there. 1,600 or 160,000 cars pass through that area, and this is just cars that pass either over one of those viaducts or over a railroad crossing. Every single one of those cars would have its experience improved, and a lot of them would be driving through new neighborhoods with new opportunities for people to shop and dine. It also would make a much more friendly experience for pedestrians and bikes. I don't know if any of you have had to walk or bike over these viaducts, but it's exhausting.
I think for pedestrians, it's positive is good, because I almost in the past been hit by cars on the bike and walking, literally to the point where they're potentially tap and like almost fall.
Oh, absolutely.
Ridiculous.
If you wrap your thing up in like 2 minutes, and then we get quick questions.
Perfect. Well, I was just going to flip some of the slides you mentioned here, because we were talking about how this could link into other transit projects. We have all these fun slides for different possible. So it takes it a minute to load the slide I'm on. So you had mentioned other transit possibilities. So Utah was recently passed up for federal funding for the intercity funding for Amtrak regional service, although that opportunity is going to come up again next year. Well, so Amtrak long distance study favored 2 routes in Utah, to Seattle and LA.
The Amtrak's still here.
Yes. So the route we have goes from Emeryville in California to Chicago, passes through Salt Lake City one way at about 10 at night and one way at about 3 in the morning. So, and I've taken it both ways several times. It's an amazing experience.
Is that cheaper than Greyhound or like?
It's cheaper than flying. I haven't taken Greyhound. But I can tell you that it's not a great experience going, getting off of the train at 3 a.m. in February in Salt Lake City.
Oh.
But we also have, you know, this dream concept for regional service throughout the Mountain West. That'd be amazing. But I think we're going to wrap this up and maybe take a few questions if we have time.
Yeah, we have like 3 minutes for questions. Let's take 3 questions.
You are proposing to close, what, 4 or 5 different intersections, right? Crossings?
8 railroad crossings.
8 crossings. Over the course of the last 25 years, since 1999, the Rio Grande station was decommissioned, whatever. How many people have literally died due to intersections with trains in those crossings?
I couldn't tell you since 1999, but I can tell you it's been 8 so far this, or within the last, since the Rio Grande plan was proposed, it has been 8 within the project area. So it's probably, yeah, so 4 years. It's front runner, it's Union Pacific, it's Amtrak.
But it's all of those trains that would be taken down into this train box, correct? So it removes all of those potential dangers.
No more pedestrian, cyclists, car interactions, is just go back.
And not only that, but the freedom that it gives you with UTA access, because currently UTA buses will never cross a train because that's completely unpredictable for them. So that opens up
It also
a huge
means
chunk
that
of the city.
the 9th South bus has to go all the way down 13th South and then back up to 9th South for the pilot. All right, next question. Where are we?
What's your, is the biggest hurdle funding and just getting, what's
Yes, so
keeping you from doing this?
really the only cost to this project is the cost. It will cost around $3 billion estimated by the engineering analysis. Now, I don't know if anyone saw this, but yesterday we got formal support from the Salt Lake County Council.
That's Mayor Wilson.
The council is the one who offered their support, yeah. We have had expressions of support from every single member of the Salt Lake City Council. And right now, we're hoping to meet soon with the mayor to communicate our recent victory here.
Which, that's what people here tend to contribute. Kind of the biggest floor, is going to write to her, if you call her, if you leave her web comment or contact page on Salt Lake City website. If she can come around to the project, that's kind of one of the biggest roadblocks. We have informal buy-in from state legislatures, governor's office, comptroller's office. We have lots of people that are willing to support, but don't want to step on Salt Lake City steps, which is kind of crazy to me because they usually have no problem stepping on Salt Lake toes. But we have buy-in from people that are ready to go once amendment all signed on. So if you guys reach out, support, this is the only project on record that will actually get structural concrete way to solve the East-West divide. It's not a kumbaya, whatever. It's not our project at intersection roads. It's not, let's all get together in the park and talk about how sad the six divide. This is the only plan that is offered in any way to help deal with this divide that leads to the social and cultural and economic divide. So you reach out to the mayor, tell her you want this. I mean, the more we get tidal waving towards her, the more she can do more.
Don't assume someone else is doing it, do it.
Yes. For sure.
Do you have someone with UP you're talking to?
So the engineering analysis, they talked with UP when they did it. UP came up with a list of demands, things that they would want to see in order to play ball. But the answer from them is technically yes, it could be done.
But you have a guy.
We as
UP has a guy.
Yeah.
I met with him years ago when the 13th South Viaduct went down to talk about don't block both 8th and 9th South, pick one, right? And his response to me, and I shit you not, was our trains don't cross your roads cross our tracks, and only because we let them, we were here first.
Wow.
So UP doesn't care. They said, do whatever you want, just don't interfere with our train service.
Back then, they gave the city the 9th South cutoff, and I'm pretty sure they give you enough property to run the light rail around this town, down 2nd South, out 5th West. I mean, there's so much property they would just give you if you would go talk to them.
Is there any plan for this without federal funds, or does it all hinge on that?
Yeah, this is the last question.
We're not meddling too much in the topic of funding because it seems we have enough buy-in that that'll be a politician's problem to figure out. But the answer is, I guess it technically could be possible federal funding. All things are, but
There's going to be a lot of.
It seems like that's right in that corridor.
People down where they want to live out.
Well, so
they agreed with that
That
assumption.
makes room for
Sorry, the people who agreed, the city council, all these others, have they agreed with that assumption that they're going to get money from federal sources?
That is assumptions.
It sounds like you're relying on federal funding.
sure. Well, I mean, every
No, there might be some significant changes.
I don't like. We're gonna move on to the next thing just for time. Okay, next up is nature and human health discussion. I don't know much about it, but these guys know everything about it, so they're gonna tell us. And should we go to 10 minutes?
Yeah, got it. I'm happy to have our brochures and our newsletter sign up if you're interested. If you're down for welcoming us here. My name's Myra. I'm with Nature and Health Utah. We are a part of the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Department in College of Health at the University of Utah. We are a pretty small group that started back in 2019. There is a group based out of the University of Washington that is comprised mostly of researchers who are interested in better understanding the health benefits of spending time outside. So there's been a lot of conversation today already about the parks in Central City, and I hear a lot of passion about the parks in this area. And both good and bad, right? So Nature and Human Health Utah works to better understand and communicate the health benefits of spending time outside. And here in Utah, we have so many opportunities to spend time outside. Obviously, we know the easiest way to get outside is in your local community, in your local park, but then we also have access to wonderful trails and natural lands. So some things that we focus on is working with communities to better understand how to get more people outside. In the United States of America, the average American spends around 8 minutes outside per day, which is kind of scary. But the research shows that you only need about 15 minutes outside a day to really sustain the health benefits of being outside. And what are those health benefits? Well, a lot of them are listed in the brochure, but the biggest one that's researched is mental health benefits, which we know is a very hot topic right now. So some things that we do that is pertinent to your community and what you do in the council, we give away pilot grants, and that can be for nonprofits or, well, that applies to y'all as a nonprofit. These pilot grants are really to better understand what's going on in the community, where are there gaps in terms of getting people outside, what are the barriers to getting people outside, and how do we improve access. So we typically give away between $40,000 and $75,000 every year to, as I said, they're pilot grants, so they're pretty small. Another project that might be of interest to your group is earlier this year, we partnered with folks from West Valley City to complete a project at Decker Lake. And this project was really trying to better understand how people use Decker Lake, what are their perceptions of the space, what are the barriers people have to getting to the space, and benefiting from the health aspects of being at Decker Lake. So that could be something that we explore together. But a lot of what we do is outreach. We share a lot about what's going on in the community related to nature and health. The best way to get updates is by signing up for our newsletter, which is going around right now. But my main purpose of being here is to better understand from you all what are your thoughts in terms of increasing access, in terms of the barriers in your parks, or the things that you'd like to see improved in your parks, and maybe some ideas for ways that we can partner and collaborate. Yeah.
I think like a lot of dialogue went on in the beginning, like, you know, Brandon loves the park, a lot of people here who work in the park. The drugs are all over the park, needles, heroin, all
Every
these
day,
things.
like, every day.
Okay, that it makes the people that live here not want to use the parks because of what's going on. That is a big disparity. It's also a big disparity going to the library.
Okay. And the kids are asking me, I'm a stranger, they're asking, hey, I don't feel comfortable walking all over the park, so I walk in home, work, like, what's this? And it's so frustrating because, I mean, sometimes they're there alone, they're young, or they have a parent there, but I mean, to me, that's terrifying as a person, as not a parent that never want kids. Yeah, it's never they're seeing and stuff. It's crazy.
I think one reason why a lot of us get frustrated about the state of the parks is we go elsewhere and we see the state of those parks in suburban cities or wealthier neighborhoods of Salt Lake cities where they're clean. Like, you don't even have to think about drugs, homelessness, and parks outside of this area.
Do you all have ideas for ways to improve the parks? I mean, obviously there's the geo bond that's going to be redoing the playgrounds and things like that, but yeah.
Just kind of bring it all together from everything to the beginning to what you're talking about now. I think I always make a comment that the thing that brings our streets together, people who smoke cigarettes, pick up garbage, and walk their dogs. We're talking about taking a lot of ownership of our areas. It's
trying to get people to really engage with their community. And if you get out and actually use the parks, even though it may be a little bit uncomfortable, sometimes start at the edges, work your way in, engage with a few and talk with people. You'll find that mutual respect happens between the new beings when you actually interact.
Right.
And you'll see that people act more respectful towards the park and all the rest of the people that live in the park. And so I really just strongly encourage everybody, get out and walk around in nature, check out the trees and the people, and you'll see that it's a huge benefit every minute that you take to do that.
Yes, don't assume the city's taking care of everything and doing it. Do it yourself. Take 5 minutes to go out. Every 5 minutes adds up. If you assume someone else is getting it done, it's gonna do it, the next day.
So I think the suggestion that picking up litter is a simple form of community service is a good one. It's one that I engage in. There are some parks where the trash cans get full up and they just stay up. And I don't know if
You can
it's
call it
because
in.
they will just refuse to pick up the trash, that when it's not. It's just the not the trash cans. There are some city parks, particularly, again, Adjourn Well Park, it's trash cans.
I call in one on the lot, right, text and grass all week, but no, I like, or, you know, come in for the early pickup, and I usually see it done. But yeah, Artesian, Tapper, and Richmond, I think Tapper, last night, I had to have a neighbor help me pull the garbages out to the curb, because I need to pick up this day. Full and overflowing, so it needs to be done twice a week, more than once a week for sure, at least probably once. And it's health, people are putting other stuff in there, they're really does. No question.
I think it's a bit of a driving force, like idea for American culture, both institutionally and culturally, but the idea that parks close at night is kind of bogus. Like you go anywhere else in the world, like Greece, for instance, like where I spent a lot of time, like walking in, people will go to plazas and public spaces late in the night because it's too hot to do anything during the day. And, you know, spaces, public spaces like plazas or parks are desirable and are well traveled and maintained because people are using it all hours. There are plenty of people that might want to go on a picnic or play a game of soccer. Parks can do things like set up lights. Pioneer Park is a prime example like that. It's a park that the city decided to light up more often, have, you know, pickup games or soccer practice at night. And that has kind of solved a lot of problems with people having to live with unhoused individuals in Pioneer Park. You know, Liberty Park, Liberty Parks, I mean, have more lights.
Yes, but also people live around the parks too, for instance, next door, so.
And there are spots where you can have like park styling that's specifically engineered to not have what's called light trespass to outside areas. There are solutions to it. Yeah.
I think that's great. I think we have to work our way up to it. We're not that way.
Oh, for
I
sure.
love it, but it's like, she lives by a park, Jewel, a friend of mine, lives right at our teacher, and people are pooping in the yard, screaming, domestic violence going on, doing all sorts of crap. And she is right there, waking up all night long. She has heart transplant. That's bullshit. It's ridiculous. So it's something we need to work up to make the people who live there and the people that go through there. I mean, I've been great at 24-hour park, you know, it's like, but as long as it's monitoring, controlled, and safe. That's why it's cameras, lights, accountability, just stuff like that, you know.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. I have my card, so if you have more ideas or would like to connect, thank you.
So I have a general question about the whole safety thing with, the last time I was here, there was always cops and they did their little report, the stats and I was kind of curious this time. It's changed. Do we have crime? Is it up or is it down?
Is that mice? Isn't that?
No, so our district or liaison is Marie Stewart, is it, well, nobody was on like, there's 2 HRC squads, one at the Gale Miller, which is naked bias, or what we talk with a lot of else, and then there's ours near Tapper and the GK, and that's Brian Sanders. He came to our last community or CCC meeting. Is there someone else online that knows?
No, there's no.
Okay, I don't think there's any police on.
There's a website that you can make it down, like that neighborhood.
Marie Stewart is universal.
Yeah. Is the
Brian Sanders and
administration
Myra
or
is
police
still
chief
with that HRC
or
slot, so they're
our
represented.
policies the same on this?
On what?
Just policing in general, because like we have a rodeo, it seems to me we should have mounted police. And I don't think that's the administration's policy, or nor has it been since they canceled the chariots, right?
We could have police bicycles.
Yeah.
But do they have them on just walking anymore? Is anyone patrolling the parks? Is there a philosophy on this? Is there someone thinking about this? Like you said, we can fix this.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that's happened within the past couple of years is squads at homeless shelters. And they mostly are on bikes, there's 5 of them, Monday through Friday. And they police the areas a quarter-mile radius around the homeless shelters. And so we've got one, the JLP, the women's shelter. And so they're at Topper Park quite frequently.
There's 6, there's right in the time.
6 of them now. And that helped. Last year, Topper Park was awesome. I don't know if you were there, but it was clean.
It improved a lot, so
Yeah.
much.
This year, I don't know what's happened. It's really going down.
And it's just the last few months.
What's happened is that clear people have Liberty Park.
So they're all dispersed.
That's why Artesian
Yeah.
Topper, and up to Richmond, Jefferson.
Whenever there's an event there, they don't want the bad PR, whoever, they just don't want it.
This is the cool irony, because they can keep that Liberty Park, so that a bunch of other people who can't there for one night can go home.
As long as it counts temporarily, but a lot of people stay and take on it.
But yeah, we should, if you want to connect with Detective Stewart, she's usually our, community representative of the police department of this area.
I'll make sure she comes in next
usually
time.
here, just for some reason today.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I was just.
I'm saying, in my experience, we've barely started getting to where police actually have enough time in between calls, because it's been so busy that they can actually engage with the community. So we can talk about like that being cop community policing kind of technique.
Right.
Like, unfortunately, we as a community have to fight for that. The police process, departments are already dealing with so many things that are escalated to much higher levels of severity. So again, this is where we need to take ownership of our neighborhoods and.
That's a great segue. That's a great
There's gotta be some budgetary mitigation, because we
Yeah,
need
absolutely.
different police to ensure.
Those things will not be made, so.
Right.
We need to work.
Okay, so for the last, until 7:30, our group over here, it focuses on the 300 East corridor, the 711 corridor, from First South down to First South down to First South. So the Cathedral District. Cathedral District, not 711 corridor.
Love it.
You guys have a question?
Bye, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so,
Do you have some?
yeah, Brianna has it.
Okay. Co-host, you
So
can.
we basically took like the city, like zoning map for center of city, this, area that we represent. And Brianna's gonna put it up there, but we like broke down through that, and so our group, we are kind of like between 200 east and 300 east, but we kind of like think the neighborhood doesn't stop on one side of the block, so we figure you go a half block further, half block further, so it's kind of like 400 south, kind of up to South Temple. And we have a lot of people engaged because we were brought together a lot of times, like people here elsewhere, because people all come to a meeting like this because we have a concern about homelessness, crime, drugs, developers, blah, blah, blah. So we're working hard to get things together, and while we're waiting for this to go on, if you're in this area, I only have 10 pieces of these. If you're living in the central city area, raise your hand.
Central City is south of Hill to Dyke, south State Street to South. Other than that, that's other.
Oh, actually.
Brandon's just gonna plug in.
Okay, sorry, Rihanna. So anyway, this slide is gonna show really good. We're starting from that, this meeting, the neighborhoods this meeting represents. And what we try to do is duplicate what we're doing in like our neighborhoods, so there's 6 groups to totally carve out this thing. Because we found like a 3 or 4 block area is something you can focus on. For example, if you look at the rezone word, you don't look at the 4 block area, it's a lot easier to understand than to look at that for the whole city.
So it's gonna be really kind of quick, but the pictures make it easier to understand. The IT guy that's down in the.
You're not Mexican or something. I don't live in this city.
Central City. Central City.
Oh, there we go. Okay. No, you need to.
It's really good.
Then.
We got the pictures.
I know, but that's not what I'm sure.
What happens is started to fall off.
All right. All right, so if you look at the thing that Ben handed out, we kind of broke up, this is really the map of this meeting. So this red area here, okay, so this is the city, and it just, some of them. Okay. So anyway, this red area is kind of the area that Ben, Justin, and I, we have a pretty big group. We're trying to formalize the goals. Yeah, so, well, everyone has their own hotspot, okay, but we're trying to, okay, some blocks have more of a homeless problem, some have more drugs, crime, some have more issues with developers trying to get around zoning. And we're all partnering together with everyone else's bigger concerns. When you show up at a meeting or you talk to police, whatever, it's not just one person, it's the whole community. So we're finding it effective. We're still finding ways to organize it, specific roles, and we're happy to share that. And Ben is kind of going to be our guide that if somebody wants to start a group in their neighborhood, you can kind of share with you how we're doing it. So we handed out this thing because we know some of you live in each of these 6 areas. So kind of broken down with the zoning map, which we can't show you now. 400 South is kind of like a divide of the zoning map. So we have like three areas below 400 South, 400 South. We're CC1 on here. So what we're trying to do is, we don't have a lot of time, but if you guys know that you're living in one of these areas, maybe connect with someone else in these areas, maybe build your own group, and, you know, like then do like someone to help you do that. Is anybody here living in 400, 500, 400 South? Anybody else? Okay, and so I think the good thing is if you guys can tell Yana and Austin on that, and they can start connecting you together. So if you're in CC4, CC5, CC6, we think it's an effective way, and then if you're the representative of the group that comes here and speaks to that group, then the meeting could be more really focused. So then is our person to speak at this meeting, and each one of the members has a representative. We think it can make this group a lot more streamlined and effective. So I just kind of put it out there. Sorry, Heather. I will be the one that
But anyone that's in those other zones, I would want someone that would head that, take ownership of that one.
Yeah, like, what's your name?
Tom Green?
He was my address.
Okay, because, you seem like you might want to sleep on these things.
No, my friend Calvin Jolly is our neighborhood watch guy, because I gave him a whistle and I tortured him.
I've never seen a neighborhood watch in our area whatsoever.
Do not get her started on
Yeah,
that.
I.
Okay, all right, so anyway, with that, I'm having a conversation, if you're living in one of these areas and you like your neighborhood to get a little more organized, so that the things that really bother you, that you don't feel alone with them, that you feel like you have a guy a block away or so on. This is a way to build a mini community within central community. And, if you wanna be the person for this area, and maybe, Randy, Nana, Austin, Cindy Cromer who just left, could start pointing people to you if you raise your hand and say you wanna do this. And that's.
I live in the down West apartments, you walk up to my door, knock on the door.
I would suggest that you have maybe a flyer template and just that people can post, because my zone has one something with all apartments, and the people post it in their apartments. And
We have a lot of people, not only in apartments, but in low-income housing.
Yeah.
This is why we're trying to bring this to the CCNC, because we've got a lot of communication that kind of funnels through this neighborhood council here, so the problem we're having is we're getting spread too thin, because sometimes we provide good examples like other communities, so we just don't have the ability to go and show other districts what it is we're doing. We're already identifying what Sandra Banks don't have our flyers, but exactly what you're saying, we've had those spots. So, then it's like,
It's
with
really
the CCNC.
for me to reach out to people, apartment buildings don't have people talk to each other.
And we want everyone to know.
Why are we going to your chat?
That's why we do have people in the apartment buildings in our neighborhood that do talk to each other.
And we want everyone involved, homeless.
And that communication is critical. But my point being is that if we can take ownership of these smaller regions, then we can collectively do more work. Because right now we've been having a problem where when people are coming to the CCNC, kind of lemons in our laps, and then we track from our local area, because we're trying to reach out, and we're not really getting a whole lot of buy-in from people in the other area. Right? Kind of somebody just wants to complain, and then they're not showing up to be there. So I think if we can get some activation more localized in these different areas, then I think that we can be more effective as a collective, and we can use the CCNC as a central connection point. And then if we have these things established, then when anybody comes to the CCNC with oh, I have these problems with my neighborhood, now they can delegate that out to the area that would be more effective. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah. So what I suggest is that if you want to be a leader for your area, reach out to Brianna, and we can start talking about that.
Does anybody want one of these that was there and doesn't have one?
I'll take that. Digits on here. I noticed there's no phone number, or website, or email.
Oh, right. So we've got
I have to go back to watch. This is.
This is one of these things.
Okay, thanks.
Right, 'cause they were launched